Okay, and we're live. Say hi, Kyle.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, we're all good. Welcome everybody. This is Thomas Van Kampen. Yes, contrary to what you might have believed, I am not dead. I just haven't updated my channel in forever. Um,
I,
decided today that I would do something a little bit different with my buddy Kyle here. You may know Kyle Lynn from Suck Creations. He's got a video up on his YouTube channel there that I actually collaborated on.
I'm actually shocked that you got the name right because it's been through like 5 name changes right now, and
Yeah,
oh man,
honestly, like, I wanted to talk to you about that at some
yeah,
point because I was just like,
uh,
dude, you're rebranding like crazy.
yeah. No, it all makes sense in my head. All right. Yeah. Originally, it was well, I started off making. I'm just gonna go through this quickly. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I started off with comedy sketches, right? And we started off as entertainment without the, it's entertainment without the T. Then we did the enter films, and then we didn't want to do just films, so I was like, okay, what about enter media? And then we did, you were there with that rebranding.
Hmm.
Um, but everyone still associated enter with like terrible comedy sketches, so I kind of wanted to really just get away from that and really make it something new. So I switched to Suck Media, and then this is something interesting. Is this guy I know? He started his own little thing, and he called it what was it? Suck Attack Media. So I think that was an attack on my part, taking a name that sounds so similar. Anyway, so I switched to Suck Creations, and hopefully there's no more of that.
Dude, like, that's just a string of bad luck there.
Oh, entirely. So I really hope there's no more of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully, you're good on something for now. You remind me a lot of my brothers who they go through all these different bands, they go through all these different names and all these different like identities, I guess. They all
Yeah.
develop these equally large fan bases, and then they stop for a while and they pick up something else, and it's like,
Oh
I
yeah, and
don't
I've started over on like everything, and it's tough.
yeah. Well, to be fair, I've considered rebranding a couple of times, but at this point, I just don't see the point of it because I honestly freaking hate my username. It's so lame.
Oh
Um,
really?
yeah,
When about did you make it? Like when did you start your YouTube channel actually?
I started it years and years and years ago, but I didn't like upload anything serious. I just wanted something in which I could comment on other people's channels. So I never really uploaded anything. I only started uploading stuff when I made a few live action sketches in high school, and then more obviously when I started doing animation.
Mm,
Uh, but yeah, just since you gave a bit of a backstory for Suck Creations, Tombo is Tombo was a nickname that my family gave me when I was a toddler. And
right.
then I added time in there because I wanted some sort of alliteration, and that's all I could come up with.
Oh,
So
right on.
yeah. But anyway, so this is the premiere episode of what I like to call Toon Crew, and basically what the gist of it is, if any of you guys have seen that show on Belated Media called Belated Media's Movie Talks. What they'll do is they'll have a few guest stars like Aaron Hansen or those guys from the Decks or all sorts of different people, and they'll bring them on board and they'll talk about a movie of their choice, which I thought was really cool and really interesting. I kind of wanted to adapt that and use it, but rather than movies, we would talk about a piece of animation because that's my main thing. Um, and this can be any animation of the guest choice that they want. It could be a movie, it could be a TV show, it can be Western animation, it can be anime, it could be from online. It could be any genre, any medium of animation, be it 2D, 3D, stop motion. Basically, as long as it's animation, it flies. So, with that in mind, Mr. Kyle Lynn, what have you chosen for our topic of discussion?
This one I'm actually really looking forward to talk about because I remember you made a Facebook post about I think it was uh underrated. What do you think is the most underrated animation or something like that? And I commented "It's Such a Beautiful Day" by Don. Oh, I don't even want to pronounce the last name. I'm gonna butcher it.
You mean Don Hertzfeld?
Her, yeah, Hertzfeld. That's okay. Yeah, but yeah, I could talk about this forever. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, for sure. And I was really down for that too. When I first saw it, I think you turned me on first and foremost to that movie because you mentioned it to me in a random email when we were going back and forth.
Yeah.
And and I've mentioned it a few times on Twitter. And quick humble brag, Don Hertzfeld himself actually liked that tweet. Um, yeah, not braggadocious or anything.
Next step is a
Uh,
follow.
yeah, for sure. And and something I said in that tweet, and I still believe, I think objectively, it's a perfect film.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know what I was going with that. Like, there's a big difference between subjective and objective for sure. As long as um, where's it going with this? Objectively, yeah. It's just I don't even know what to say. It's
Yeah, like the big thing that has struck me about it was that it's very simplistic and very rudimentary. Like like the designs themselves are nothing to write home about. It's literally just a bunch of stick figures. The runtime is considerably short, but not like overstated. And it pretty much provides next to no context. It doesn't tell you what town it takes place in. It doesn't tell you anything about Bill aside from his name is Bill. Um, and yeah, but honestly, that's not really the point of it. And it's more just to articulate what's essentially a uh, a mental breakdown through a bunch of impressive visuals and techniques and stuff, and it pulls it off so well. And I say it's objectively perfect because like nothing gets in the way of that. It doesn't run too long. So I was just really into it the whole way through, and not to mention it's freaking hilarious.
yeah, yeah. I'm actually intrigued by how he pulls the viewer into their world with so little information. Like you don't know anything about it, but you're so he pulls you in so well.
Yeah, totally. I absolutely agree with that. I love movies that can pull you in just with little bits of information at a time. It doesn't give you the whole context right from the beginning, like a Star Wars scroll down or something. It just it just lets you put the pieces together as the film goes along, and I really appreciate movies like that. So
Yeah, and I think another thing too is that it's also a bit real. Like right from the opening kind of moments, you can relate to the character because he has these awkward encounters, and it's like, hey, I mess up handshakes sometimes, or that kind of thing.
that's
Eh,
so true.
yeah,
It's so true. The movie pretty much opens up with kind of weird oddities that Bill goes through and like all his little pet peeves and stuff, and like it doesn't really go into all the insane stuff until one point of the movie. Before we go any further, I should just state right now that for anybody listening in or listening in the future, if you haven't seen It's Such a Beautiful Day, I suggest you go watch it before you listen to the rest of this because we've basically scratched the surface of this thing, and I'm afraid of like accidentally spoiling the movie for somebody who hasn't seen it. So go see it before you listen any further to this conversation, and then come right back. So from here on out, we will like Kyle. Feel free to spoil whatever it is you want.
all right, lovely.
Yeah, for sure.
um, okay, so I also love how he uses different. Well, the animation is simplistic, but he uses like non-traditional techniques in his animation too.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say like they're necessarily non-traditional techniques in animation that he uses. I would say it's more in film editing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, just it'll take a lot. Why? Okay. What am I saying? It'll take a bit to get used to once you like start to get into the movie. Once you're into it, it's like it's just another element that pulls you in. I find and makes it original.
Yeah, for sure. Like I was really loving around the time where he's watching TV and he sees the boxing match, and this is the point in the movie where he's starting to lose his mind a little bit, and you can tell because of how cleverly it's portrayed. Where it's like he's watching the boxing match and he sees this boxer's head get split open with blood coming out. And by the way, that's a hilarious image.
Yeah.
Um, and then like the way he edits the film, like it kind of gets cropped out and gets replaced with Bill, his head splitting open, and you know it's Bill because he's wearing his hat. Um, and that's such a clever thing because like it's introducing new variables. It's like very surreal, but it immediately establishes what's going on. Immediately, you get the impression, oh, this guy's losing his mind. You
And
know?
another thing to discuss actually is all this symbolism there to like for some big deeper meaning, or is it like as you said before earlier in a past conversation, is Don just messing with all his viewers, right? You know,
Yeah,
is he
yeah,
for like just for laughs or whatever? You know, is or is he trying to say something bigger?
yeah, absolutely. I like that the movie doesn't spell out any moral to you, if there's even a moral there. That is, it's completely up for interpretation. You can take whatever it is you want from it. That being said, Kyle, I'm really curious. Did you take anything from this movie? Any sort of moral or ethic or principle?
Um, I guess in my opinion, he was. I just really found it really real, and that's weird to come from an animation sometimes, you know. Um, just with how real you start to feel for the character, and you know what he seems to be going through is some sort of brain memory thing, right? That a lot of people real life struggle with, and I don't know if he was. I think it did have some kind of deeper meaning, and I don't know if I could pinpoint my finger on what exactly was trying to be said, but I do think it was something, um, just some kind of commentary on something. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally get that. And like it's a little bit hard to grasp initially in the beginning because like literally nothing, excuse me, literally nothing is spelled out for you at any point in the movie. It's literally like a bunch of weird visuals basically stapled together. And like, if nothing else, it makes for a good laugh. Like, if you just want a bit of surrealism with nothing else attached, I think you'll like this movie okay. Um, but you know, it is an interesting thing to read into. Kind of what
Hmm.
I got out of it is, I kind of got the idea that it's about having an appreciation for the finer things in life. Hence, it's such a beautiful day. Um,
Oh.
yeah, because like the beginning is all about Bill like complaining about really mundane things, like how he's always dropping the keys about like awkward interactions with strangers, and like he's basically going into this mental breakdown about how everyone's crotches is getting bigger and you know, and by the way, is it Don Hertzfeldt's voice delivering this? Do you know? Is it him narrating?
I could look it up if you want while you're talking.
Yeah, for sure. If you could do that, that'd be great. And yeah, and where was I going with that? It was like yeah, so he's complaining about all these mundane, like kind of inconvenient things about life. But the thing is, he's going through a sincere loss. Like he's not being inconvenienced anymore. His life is falling apart because his mental health is deteriorating.
Hmm.
Like he's starting to not remember people. He's starting to lose functionality in his body. He's starting to like see all these hallucinations that aren't there. Like he actually has real problems now, And near the end, he suddenly has an appreciation for life because like he's starting to see the beauty in everything that he didn't see before when he was in perfect health.
Mhm.
And yeah, and the ending's kind of interesting because the ending is something along the lines of Bill becomes immortal or something along those lines, like he lives to the end of time or something like that.
Yeah, the ending was interesting. I didn't. I actually gathered from the ending was that he was nearing the end of his life and he was dying. That's what I got. But as he was dying, it was all this beautiful imagery and beautiful music, and he finally understood the whole. He was finally saw all the good in the world, and after going through all this seeing all the stuff that's not great. That's what I took away from it anyway. But that's the thing about this movie is that there's going to be so many different just ways you can take it, and it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And if I understand correctly, this movie had like a really small crew. Like I think Don Hertzfeldt did like 80% of things, and then I'll have to look up the IMDb page for a second, but like it's like
I'm on.
him doing most of it and then only getting a little bit of help here and there. Is that right?
Mhm. I'm on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know how accurate that would be, but it says directed and written by him, cast him. Uh, maybe a different website might say.
I'll check out the IMDb page just to compare.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Another. So I just wanted to say. Oh, it says stars Don Hertzfeld and Sarah Cushman.
Sarah Cushman. Is there a woman's voice at some point?
Uh, that's
I
it
didn't.
says voice. Sarah did the voice, and for some reason. Oh,
Oh,
narrator Don. Well, who was the voice?
is, does a woman speak at some point in this movie?
Oh, it says doctor voice. I didn't even realize that there were. Hmm.
Oh, interesting. I don't remember that part. Literally, all I remember is Don Hertzfeldt's narration.
Yeah, me too. I'll have to rewatch it, I guess.
Yeah, I'll have to confess, it has been a little bit of time since I've seen it, but I remember it so distinctly, regardless. With the exception
Mhm.
of that, of course. Um, so while we're on the subject of Don Hertzfeldt, was this your introduction to the animator, or have you seen his stuff before this?
Oh God, I saw the viral video of my spoon is too big.
My
Uh,
spoon.
and yeah, yeah. I think that's probably everyone's introduction to him. But
Yeah.
and then oh God, I had to be in like grade 7 or 8 or something like that, and we passed around all his viral videos, which that one was rejected, and the other ones he did was just a few of those. But looking at his past work, you'd never expect him to make something to the scale. You'd think he'd just always be an animator that just messes around and makes people laugh. But this is that, but it's just so much bigger. I don't know.
I do
Um,
see your point because like he starts off with this internet notoriety. I think I'm
mm,
not sure if I'm not sure if he was like a Newgrounds guy or something. I kind of doubt it, but
yeah.
he definitely had an internet notoriety initially, and I guess that kind of catapulted him to be able to create his own film. It's such a surprise for him to tackle subject matter like this when previously he was most notable for my anus is bleeding.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's like if Ego Raptor suddenly made like an intense drama or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's just such a big change of pace, but he takes it so well, which is really cool. While we're on the topic, I just wanted to talk about past work. The contrast in this film, it goes from lighthearted and funny to all of a sudden like dark and depressing and dreary and horrid, and it just bounces between these two things pretty drastically, I find.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I think I can pinpoint exactly the point where it makes that transition. It's that boxing thing I mentioned before. Like as soon as Bill's face appears on screen and it's like imploding from the inside, blood squirting out,
Hmm.
that's the point where this movie starts going into a really dark path. Because before then, it's literally just a bunch of awkward, surreal humor that reminds me a bit of Homestar Runner, oddly enough. I don't know if
Oh yeah.
that's probably a weird comparison. I don't know.
No, it's got like the same style of humor, but yeah, it's just such a contrast from just the beginning of the film and then just jumping into his illness, which I guess it's cool that he does that because it's like in a way it's like mental illness isn't like it's not just painted over as you making it funny or pleasant. Sometimes things in life aren't pleasant, and I think that's one of the big points that in my opinion he might have been using this film to say.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And let's see. There was something I was going to ask. Do you have like a most memorable moment from this movie that really sticks out to you? Like it was the part in the movie where you were like, "Whoa, this is really turning into something here."
Yeah. Well, I guess there's like kind of two moments where I really thought this film was filmed special, and the first one was actually just in the beginning where I could just instantly jump into this character's shoes and be like, okay, yeah, that's me. And I think that was the first point, just simple. Um, I think as he thought he recognized somebody and he's only able to say like meh or something like that, and it was just really awkward. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can get into this. But then the second point where I realized, oh, this is more than just like his other work. This is more than just some um, little comedy thing. It is when I realized. Well, another turning point would be the middle where it got so dark, right? And the grandmothers, well, all the insane. I don't know. There was the insane grandmother that like I forget tossed cats across the room and no baby. I don't know.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Where it just got so dark, and I'm like, okay, well, this is pretty insane. What is he doing here? And then at the end, when it turned into something beautiful and all the nature shots and the nice music, and it's like, and you're starting to realize that the whole time you're only starting to realize the depth of it and the just I don't know what he was trying to do here. It's so hard to piece together as you're watching it, but by the end, he ties it all together really nicely. And I think those are the kind of the three moments that kind of um, I don't know, just I don't know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I totally agree with that up point about immediately being put into Bill's shoes because the thing about Bill the character is that he's not really a character at all. He's basically a guy who's affected by the narrative but doesn't really react to it. I think he has kind of like a meh face the whole way through, with the exception of like when he's going insane. Because like it's less supposed to be like a character drama or anything like that. More supposed to be just like a completely subjective experience. And in order to create that, you can't give Bill too much of a personality. You basically have to make him an empty slate for anyone to slip into.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say that is it's a writing technique to not give too much information about your character if you want people to connect to it as much as possible, and because if they have too much, they're their own independent thing. But if not, like Bill, everyone can just jump in and instantly feel the story that much closer.
Yeah, and there's definitely, and like creating an empty slate for a character in which they experience things, but they don't really change or react to it in any such a way that's like, oh, that's so Bill or whatever.
Mhm.
That's easier said than done. It seems like such an easy thing to just create an empty slate where you don't have to create much character tropes about them. But it's very easy to fuck up and make the quote unquote character not very likable at all. Like for instance, Bella from Twilight. Um,
Yeah.
it made me think of that because like Bella in the books and in the movies, basically her whole purpose is to be the everyday teenage girl, which means does is complain. like
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
like she specifies how problematic her life is, even though it's like the most mundane life ever, and she doesn't have any real problems. And even though these magical, impossibly perfect guys come along to solve all of her problems, she just she's always finding things to complain about or to not be happy about, and it's just like freaking. And basically, she's always justified no matter what. It's her way or the highway, even though she's a terrible human being.
Yeah.
Whereas Bill didn't actually bring on any of the things that he gets into. He couldn't have known that he was going to suffer a mental illness, and like it happens to him so suddenly, and you're just wondering like what is he going to take from this, or rather what are you going to take from this? So
For sure.
like this movie is very much a stream of consciousness, I think.
How would you like explain that?
Like the whole stream of consciousness thing.
Yeah.
Well, I just mean that in the sense where it's like it gives you information and like it sort of guides you along to making the conclusions that the characters are making. Like, you know how if you watch a movie, something that can take you out of it is a character doing something that you wouldn't do?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is very different in that, like, you're just as confused as Bill is, and you're just as powerless as he is. And so you're kind of put into the state where you're at complete mercy at the film, and you're just going to accept whatever the film throws at you. And as a result, you're much more open to whatever the philosophy it is that the movie's conveying. You're more open to just experiencing the trip that the movie puts you on, stuff like that.
hmm
Um, yeah, so I think that's why I say it's like a stream of consciousness where it's like it's guiding you into thinking a certain way, which I think is very neat.
hmm I think actually there's he did 3 parts to the movie, and each like about 20 minutes long, and like he didn't make it as like a full movie. I think he released them like each of the 3 parts. Yeah, yeah, short film trilogy. Um, Everything will be okay. I am so proud of you, and the finale. It's such a beautiful day. And then he
Yeah,
put it
there
into
you go.
this,
Yeah.
and he did it so seamlessly into this little film, and they all just. I guess what I'm getting at is, do you think each of the 3 parts, is there a better one, or do you think one is more important, or that kind of thing?
Not really. Like I heard that same thing too, but you're right. It's so seamless that it all seems like so well put together, like ships in transit.
hmm
Uh, like if you hadn't if I hadn't heard that, if I just was under the impression that he made it all at the same time for the same purpose, then I wouldn't have even guessed it was split into 3 parts because like it's so seamless the whole way through.
Oh yeah, entirely.
Yeah, which is another rarity amongst movies, as it just so happens. Like, it's so rare to have a movie that has, like, all 3 acts, assuming it's a 3 act structure, it has all 3 acts, like, as entertaining as each other. So,
Yeah, there's too many times where I go to a movie and I'm be like, yeah, it's pretty good. They ruin the ending though, you know, like.
yeah. Like, there are shitty endings, there are movies that don't get good until the ending.
Yeah, yeah.
And occasionally you'll get a rare case where only the middle is good and the beginning is like a really rocky start and then the ending's not satisfying.
hmm
Yeah, it's for sure. Were
Um,
you about to say something? Yeah.
I was just sorry. Yeah. So I guess he had this internet fame, right? And he kind of moved that over to his movie, and he's I'm just on his Wikipedia page, so I don't know if this is all accurate, but I'm sure it's fine. After
Yeah.
this, he's actually done more stuff um, that I haven't even I haven't even watched or anything. Oh, actually, I did see he did the Simpsons intro. I was watching the Simpsons and I saw, hey, this looks exactly like the animation style that Don's is, and I was like, oh, I looked up and it's like, oh, nice. Um, which is really cool. And after that, he did something called World of Tomorrow, which for some reason I haven't watched. But I'm wondering if that's yeah, it's won awards. It's probably good. We
Yeah,
might have to check that
you know
out.
what? It's so funny that you bring up the Simpsons intro because I was planning on doing that too. Like that's what he's been doing since then, after garnering all that notoriety from his projects.
Hmm.
And man, when I first saw that intro, it was like the weirdest thing to me because I didn't get a proper introduction to Don Hertzfeldt when I watched that. Uh, so um, so I didn't really get it. I was just like, is there a joke I'm missing
Oh,
here?
it was so like weird and it kind of wonky, I guess. But like you wouldn't know unless you actually know who he is and what he's done. You know?
Yeah. To be fair though, like the intros are pretty much the only cool thing about The Simpsons nowadays, and
Yeah,
they're not even done by them. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually a lot of cool. Sorry, were you gonna?
like, oh no, please go ahead.
I've seen a lot of cool people get like do some like good Simpsons intros. Like one of my favorites is when Rick and Morty run the Simpsons intro.
Yes.
That's got to be one of my favorites. Like I don't know, they just it's just really cool. That's like the goal to be on a Simpsons intro.
Oh man, that would be so good. Like, I guess that would be neat for me too, but at the same time, I don't want The Simpsons to last that long enough for me to
Yeah,
like.
true. I mean, it's already people are already saying, stop watching after this season, and it's got it. What is it? Season 26, 7, 8? I don't know.
It's like 21 seasons in now. God, this show needs to die.
Right? I don't know.
Oh,
Some there's it depends on the show, but I think every show has a perfect cutoff. Like like I okay, for example, Adventure Time is ending in like probably I think 2018 I read, and that's probably like the perfect amount because no one's sick of it yet, but it's already reaching at like season maybe like 8 now. It really depends on the show and how much the creators can like um push the characters of the show, of any show. Not to get too off topic of Dawn here, but
no worries. Like, I kind of wanted to encourage this where, we get our pieces out for the movie in question. And, if we want to go on tangents, that's cool. It's basically
hmm,
just animation stuff in general. But,
yeah.
yeah, just going along with what you're saying, like, I totally agree. Like, certain shows, whatever their premise is, sometimes they have a premise that just even though it's really good, it probably can't last as long a time as others. And like, you might as well just cut it off when it's good, and you can't really add anything to it to make it better. Um,
Hmm.
that said, there are some premises that have like questions left unanswered and stuff like that, which I'm totally all for bringing back into the game. Like that Samurai Jack reboot looks freaking badass.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see that. It looks awesome.
Oh man, I'm hoping that it doesn't lose like too much of the original's like kind of silly humor. I'm hoping it retains some of that because
Oh, there's.
so far
Oh, sorry.
so far
Continue.
so far it's looking so much like a such a melodrama. Like it doesn't look like it's gonna have much laughs, and it's gory now and everything. But
Hmm.
hopefully, yeah.
That's the. I was sorry. I just got a question like halfway through your talk. What do you think of reboots in general of like animated series or movies or just reboots?
Like I said, occasionally it can work, like Samurai Jack, but the only reason it does work is because Samurai Jack was given an unfulfilling conclusion, and and also it's just the premise alone, like samurai trapped in the future has to get back to the past. that already has like so much potential for so many new story ideas that are all like good and fresh that it warrants itself coming back into the mainstream.
Hmm.
But that said, 9 times out of 10, like reboots and remakes and stuff, they're all just shameless money grabs. Like freaking, I hate with a burning passion that Beauty and the Beast thing coming up.
Oh, the live action one? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like that just frustrates me. Like frustrates me so much is that it doesn't have anything new to say, anything new to tell. It's scene for scene, shot for shot, the exact same movie in live action.
It's basically capitalizing on all the nostalgia people, like, oh, I love that movie. I can't wait for the exact same thing because that's because I loved it so much. It's nostalgia, and nostalgia sells.
It it's so damn stupid. Like, are we that easily entertained that we can just be given the same bullshit over and over? Like,
Oh, just wait, because this live action is going to be rebooted back to an animation, I'm sure.
oh, God forbid. Like, if you have to capitalize on people's nostalgia, fine, but couldn't you just release the original in 3D or something, as gimmicky as that is? I bet you, for way less of a budget, if you just re-released the old movie in the theaters again, like people would go see it.
Or like,
And
yeah, as like in some kind of HD remaster, everyone would be down because I, I don't know it. I do think that the live action is just a silly idea. I don't know.
and it's just like, and let me be clear, I'm not against Disney doing Beauty and the Beast again, and by that I mean I don't I'm not against them like having a different interpretation of the story or something like that, but
Hmm.
this isn't a different interpretation. This is the Disney version again. Like, it's gonna have Be Our Guest. The Beast looks exactly the same, Gaston looks exactly the same. It has that same opening song. It has the same tunes, the same melodies. Apparently, like, it has "Tale as Old as Time" covered by John Legend and somebody else, which I think is the gimmickiest bullshit ever. Like, this movie's not gonna be dated at all.
Yeah.
It's gonna be just as classic as the original, right, guys?
See, the thing is, if you're going to reboot anything, don't just change the medium because you can do that endlessly and still have the exact same thing. You can, and right now it'd be 2D animation and live action, but next thing you know, they can still do the exact same thing with 3D animation. You can do a musical version. No, I guess it would be a musical. You can do a puppet show. It's just you can keep changing the medium, but if the story doesn't stay the same, why not just why?
Yeah, it's like, and that's why I don't care how good supposedly this new Beauty and the Beast ends up doing, even though it's very, very flawed and it does a lot of things wrong. I have a sort of respect for Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland because it doesn't try to be uh, like the animated Alice in Wonderland. It doesn't try to like capture the same feelings, even though it goes in a completely weird direction that's like I don't think is the intended purpose of the original novel. It's still something different. Like, you're still gonna get something else out of it other than all this whimsical stuff.
Yeah, a good test to see if your reboot is if it should be done is if can the viewer watch the original and then the reboot right after the other. Because with Beauty and the Beast, you're just gonna get the exact same thing. It's like, well, why would I watch that again? But if you could, but I can totally watch the old Alice in Wonderland and then the new one right back to back, and not, it's totally different. You're not gonna be like, oh, we just finished watching this.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that so many movies now, it's like our culture is so shitty now that like all we can think to do is talk about how great our culture used to be. And the reason
Yeah.
why our culture is so shitty is because we're not producing anything new. We're not introducing new ideas. We're not encouraging them. We're not
Hmm.
like Like, because like things that are created recently, they can make a good impact that'll stay with us. Like Gravity Falls, Adventure Time, Steven Universe, regular show. Like these are
Hmm.
all things that are really recent, but they've become mainstream to a point where they seem just as much classics as anything else we talked about this stream. You know,
Hmm.
it's because
Yeah,
they're just good and they don't rely on a certain time period in order to be good. They just address timeless things. They're their own unique personality that's accessible to you no matter what age you are. You know.
totally. Um, I think that's the big problem is everyone's looking in the wrong direction. You know, everyone's looking backwards when there's all this new material um, in everything coming out, in all sorts of arts coming out. But everyone's looking back and thinking, oh, I wish it was, I wish I was born in this generation with all the good stuff. It's like, why? You can still have the good stuff and the new stuff that are still good, but people don't seem to realize um, the things that are already classics, just that are still new. You know, like the ones you mentioned, and
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's actually a really good way of putting it. Like, you're in the best generation possible right now because you can access everything great about past generations and still get new stuff. Your attitude is the sole reason why your generation sucks, is because you're not making it good.
exactly,
Whether or not this generation is good is up to you. This is your generation. If you think it sucks, like, make it good yourself. Like, create the most mind blowing stuff, you know.
exactly. Um, Another thing is though that I find um, not only does everyone complain that we're not in the past, everyone seems to be jumping on to create things more than ever. Like it's more accessible than it's ever been to create things, right? Um, with the technology and all that, and that also means more competition, also, and which is good. Competition is good for business and arts and all that. But it can also make it harder to find and harder for a classic to jump out. Um,
Yeah.
do
And
you
oh, sorry, go ahead with your question.
no, I was just kind of ending it, I guess. Do you find as an animator, do you worry about that? Do you worry about the competition? You know, do you worry about the stuff that I mentioned?
Uh Not necessarily, no. It kind of depends on what I'm competing with. If it's stuff that's mind-blowingly amazing and iconic and like will be super accessible and relatable to people for decades, like I can't argue against that because I want that kind of stuff to become mainstream. And if it just so happens to override the stuff that I want to create, I think that's perfectly fair. But
Hmm.
if it's like the most commercialized pandering bullshit, like the freaking Emoji Movie,
Oh God.
yeah, exactly. To be fair, like people are waking up to that stuff. Um, like if it's stuff like that I'm competing with, where it's just soulless pandering to millennials and like and
Hmm.
all that sort of stuff, then yeah, I'm gonna be pissed off because it's like I try to work hard to create something that's refreshing, and I won't argue it's the most original thing, but like I do put in like a piece of me, so I think it's somewhat original to say the least. So
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's hard when you put like everything, everything you've got, everything you are as a person into your work, and then have someone just throw it something at the wall and it sticks, and they get like everything, and it's not good for anybody. It's not good for consumers. It's not good for creators that way. Which brings me to YouTube too. Is YouTube is not exactly helping a lot of this stuff. Like,
yeah, I almost said Hitler. What the hell? um,
oh, sorry.
uh,
To
YouTube. Go ahead.
sorry, man. PewDiePie must be a. Have you seen the drama about like all these news journalism? and journalism stuff like that, like just attacking him for taking everything out of context and stuff.
Yes, I have seen that,
Oh,
and
it's just
it's
brutal.
annoying.
Well, it's
All I uh, especially for animators right now, like YouTube is such a shit show.
yeah, and every other media just looks down on YouTube and just I think they just don't understand it. I think they're scared of it, but like I don't. Ugh.
Like they try to discredit it at every turn because it's easier than hopping on board because like you, so many people are giving up cable because they would just watch something on YouTube instead. And like, yeah, there are great shows on TV right now, like everything I mentioned previously, plus like a bunch of really popular HBO shows and the CW. But the thing is like if people want to watch that, what's stopping them from streaming it on Netflix or like going to the internet and watching pirated versions of it? I don't condone that, but at the same time, I acknowledge that they can do that if they want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they just can't accept that YouTube is not only competing with them, but is sort of beating their ass. And so they try to discredit it at every turn. I won't say that there's nothing dumb on YouTube. I do agree that a lot of it is really pandering, kind of dumb stuff. But like, television is not in a place to complain. We're, we know reality shows are so fake. We know everybody knows about events happening days ahead of time. We know that they're pushed for certain responses to questions off camera, and if they don't give juicy enough answers, they're more likely of being kicked off the show. We know everything is staged.
Yeah, yeah, and logically, the future is going to eventually, um, like no one's gonna have cable or like it's all gonna move to the internet. I think
Mhm.
just all signs kind of point to that. In terms of like how successful Netflix and YouTube have been taking away from viewers. Eventually, it's going to be like that. Well, if you had to guess a year when everyone is primarily on the internet and no one uses, television, what would you, if you agree with that, what would you say?
Well, let's see. I think television has a few more years behind it only because it's not going to die quietly. So I think it's going to happen around 2024.
Huh. Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Were you expecting like earlier or?
No, I was gonna say like about yeah, I wouldn't say more than 10 years for sure.
Yeah. It's because like you have to give people reasons to buy your medium, but if a medium can make your people's reasons for buying it ultimately void, then like you just got to go along with the curve, sad as that sounds. And that goes for people with high quality stuff too, like animation, for instance. Like so many animators, because they can't conform to YouTube's algorithm of long form content being produced every day, because that's just an impossible standard for them. Um, they're doing other things like the Newgrounds animators. They started doing Sleepycast a few years ago, but then they gave that up and started doing other things. Um, and Ego Raptor eventually started doing Game Grumps, which I think that's a solid show, and I tune into it every day. But I do miss the cartoons a lot.
Yeah,
So
yeah. A lot of oh god, all the animators I love on YouTube just unfortunately, can't afford to use YouTube, right? Because of the algorithms and all that. But actually, I was really psyched
yeah.
to see Psychic Pebbles make a return recently with his podcast, which is actually really cool.
Schmucks. Yeah, it's like Schmucks, and it's at Jontron, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I listened to that and it's pretty funny. And Psychic Pebbles was one of the funnier members of the Sleepy Cabin crew, I think, along with Spaz Kid.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Yeah, but I think a really clever thing that a lot of animators that I follow are doing now is they're doing animated editorial videos where the whole is they started making videos where they review movies or games. You remember Eager After series sequelitis?
Yes.
Yeah, where their whole deal is like they have little animated avatars and movies or video games or something, and they give their own spin on whatever the topic of discussion is, and they implore animation into that. So it's long form content that's occasionally really choppy, but it's still like really solid and it's them being themselves. So like Hot Diggity Demon's Brain Dump is a really good series, and sometimes he just straight up doesn't review anything, which I think is fine. Top Spin the Fuzzy is doing that too, which with patch notes and oh, and Greg Zilla, he made a video on Sonic Lost World not too long ago, and the animation in that is super impressive. Like it's on par with everything else he does. So
Um,
yeah,
what do you think of the animated storytellers, or sometimes not even animated? Sometimes they're just kind of storyboard type deals or animatics. But the people that get behind and just tell stories about their life while their little animated character kind of
you
talks. I
mean
don't know.
like Swizzy?
Yeah, yeah, Swizzy or The Odd Ones Out or that kind of thing.
Uh, I pretty much pay no attention to them honestly. Um,
Yeah,
so I just don't have any opinion on them really.
yeah, yeah.
What about you? Do you have anything particularly to say about them?
um, Not really. I mean, I mean, I prefer the actual people who write script and tell stories, but like or not that kind of thing. But
Hmm.
yeah, they're pretty cool.
Like script writing is pretty much a thing of the past on YouTube.
Yeah, seems that way. Yeah.
Like to my knowledge, the only people doing scripted sketches are like freaking Ryan Higa and Smosh, and that's just because they've been doing that forever. And
Oh yeah, all the old people. Yeah, and Tomska and all that for
yeah,
sure.
pretty much. But yeah, because of the huge demand that comes from YouTube to produce content as frequently as that, like you either have to vlog or you have to do let's plays or you have to do podcasts or all three if you can hope to manage that.
Yeah, and even with podcasts, it's hard because not everyone wants to tune in for that long and of just kind of like mostly audio and so it's even hard with that. Actually, an example of a really good podcast is I think it's the H3 podcast. They get a bunch of YouTuber guests, and so far it's been really good actually.
Yeah, I've been listening to that a bit. And cool thing about H3 is that he gets really unexpected guests. What I like about Ethan is that he has no trouble like shit talking people, but he also like knows how to be a respectful host. Like his last episode had Keemstar or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, I saw that one recently, and I was everyone was shocked that he was on, but it was just really cool, and they kind of treated each other like professionals, you know.
Yeah, which I thought was really refreshing because I frankly I didn't expect that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and to speak while we're talking about really good podcasts, can I quickly plug a friend of mine's work?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So I'm good buddies with a guy named Tyler Marchant from the States. He's a super nice guy, and he actually runs an animation themed podcast called the Cynical Cartoons Podcast, which is and I've actually guest starred at a few episodes where he talks about TV shows or movies with whatever guest star he has, and occasionally he has celebrity guest stars, like legit celebrities, not just YouTube people. Um,
Hmm.
I've been on 3 episodes, and the last one I did, we actually had a nice chat with Debbie Derryberry, who is the voice actress for Jimmy Neutron.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was super neat visiting her, and she's such a sweetheart and a crowd pleaser. But yeah, I mostly listen to animation podcasts whenever I'm working because it puts me in the mood. So like Sleepy Cabin, The Rubber Onion is also really good. Uh, I feel like I had a few more examples, but they're not coming to mind. But yeah, those are the two big ones: Sleepy Cabin and freaking The Rubber Onion.
I'll have to. I'm writing these down so I can check them out later.
Oh, for sure, dude. They're super interesting.
Actually, just for reference, do you remember what the episodes that you were on are called for cynical cartoons?
Oh, yeah. The episodes I'm on is the first one is Hulked Out Heroes, and that's an especially funny one, I think. It's the one where, do you remember the Avengers Assembles cartoon on the Disney Channel?
Briefly.
Okay, well, it was an episode of that we reviewed, and the premise of that episode is that all the other Avengers are poisoned and they slowly become Hulks. It's just as ridiculous.
Oh Lord, I'd imagine.
And that was a blast to watch and just poke fun of. Another episode I was on, we talked about Kubo and the Two Strings. And then the last one was our interview with Debbie Derryberry. So
Oh, that's awesome, awesome. Yeah, that would have been cool meeting someone who
yeah,
influenced a lot of people without even anyone knowing who she is. Just being the voice of such a recognizable character.
I think a considerable amount of people know who she is because she's had other. Jimmy Neutron's her big one, obviously, but she's also had other big roles like Zatch Bell from well, the anime Zatch Bell.
Right.
And it's the one with like the little puppet children that shoot lightning from their faces. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, and what else did she do? She did Draculaura from the Monster High cartoon. If you're into that, no, okay.
Not into
Um,
it.
and freaking that one girl from F is for Family, which is a pretty recent show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, she's doing some really promising stuff. What about you, man? What have you been up to since we last spoke to each other?
Oh gosh. Well, the last project we did was only project we did was animation, which got a lot of more attention than any videos have gotten before, which was nice. So I wanted to continue that, but I've been kind of stuck in a loop of rebranding, as we talked about before, and I'm just working on everything at the same time, and they're all these projects I'm doing are huge and like not suited to YouTube very well because everything on YouTube's like as we mentioned before, if it's not vlogs or let's plays and it takes longer than a day to make, you're probably not going to do too well. But like I've been trying to get a podcast started. I've been trying to do another animation thing. But everything takes so much time, and I guess it's better than just throwing everything out there and just not putting care into it. But it's still, I mean, it's tough.
You
What
guys are
a sorry, I
you
got
guys are
nothing left.
doing a podcast together, right?
Yeah, yeah, we're trying to.
That's pretty sweet, dude. That was like Entercast or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. We'll see.
All right. Sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to ask me?
um. Oh, what you've been working on a Gerry Mouse lately, right?
Yes. Thank you for asking. So for the past like few months, I've been hard at work on a project called Gerry Mouse, which is based on a children's book from this Edmonton author, Charlotte Cooper, um, of the same name, and it's supposed to be an educational book that teaches kids about homelessness and kind of child poverty and all that sort of stuff. Um, so yeah, and it's going to be funded by TELUS. That's how we're going putting things down. It's going to be entered into a contest with 10 other competitors. 4 others are going to be from Alberta. The other 5 are going to be from British Columbia. And I think there are going to be 2 winners, if I understand correctly. And their prize will be their short will be featured on television. And they'll get a all expense paid trip to Ottawa for a film festival, I think. So
Oh, that's awesome. Well, good luck to all of the team with that, because that'd be really cool. Um, and I also wanted to talk a bit about that. This must be so different for you, because I'm sure you'd be used to your own little independent projects. Have you ever done anything like this, or how's it been? That kind of thing.
um, well, before this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, projects I've tackled thus far. Before this, I made some backgrounds for stage play, and even before that, I was just making some animation work for other online people, like for instance you.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been doing. So I haven't tackled anything of this capacity before, but it's going pretty well so far. And
Like, is it? Sorry, is it stressful?
uh, sometimes, like I'm pretty confident about the kind of progress I can make, and I have a pretty solid plan of how I'm going to go about it. It was pretty stressful at first, just because I didn't know what the expectations were. Sorry, but yeah, thus far I'm not too worried about it. I'm going at a pretty good pace, so I think I'll be all right.
Right on.
Um, Yeah, and I just wanted to say real quick, I plan on making this like a regular series, Toon Crew, for anyone listening in the future. But that said, I do plan on streaming some animation work that I'll be doing, and you can do that with screen share in case you didn't know, Kyle.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and the only reason I'm not doing it now is because I don't have clearance to share the Gerry Mouse stuff that I'm doing. It's not my project, so I can't just do it without anyone's permission. But rest assured, if I'm doing like a personal project, like a spin-off, or if I'm doing something that I have permission from my contractor to share it, I'll be doing that. But for now, I can't share anything.
Um, you mentioned screen share. Is that you'd put it? Is that a feature so you can talk to people and show what's on your screen at the same time, basically?
Yeah, if you go to the Google Hangouts tab and you hover your mouse over to the left side of the screen, there should be a green screen with an arrow on it called Screen Share. You click that, you pick whatever window you want to stream live, and then that's what you'll be streaming.
Oh, okay, cool. I might use that later.
Yeah, and
Cool.
you can do that for like if you want to share things like some articles that you want to look up, or you want to show some wacky pictures to everybody else.
Mm,
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
cool, cool. Um, okay. What are your plans after you've done this whole big Jerry Mouse project? Because I know it's been taking up a lot of your time, and you're probably itching to get into or looking into the future and all that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a bit, and the big thing is once this is all wrapped up, I'm gonna upgrade my tech, uh, and possibly obtain a few lessons on like other softwares and stuff, just so I'm more applicable. Because right now, all I really know is Toonboom.
Right.
Um, yeah, and then I was told by somebody I know that apparently I'm good enough to apply to a studio or something like that. Like, I'm not
Huh.
sure if I believe that, but I'm just gonna take their word for it.
We'll definitely go for it.
Yeah, it couldn't hurt. So I'm gonna apply to a few studios in Kelowna, see what happens, and if not that, maybe I'll be searching around for some work.
Right on. You mentioned software. If you were to recommend to any budding animators out there or creators, what software to use, or what tech to have, or that kind of thing? Tips and
Well,
tricks.
that's an excellent question. If you have a bit of money to spend, I think ToonMove is a solid investment. A lot of people will say that it's super complicated or like it's impossible to learn because of how many options. If you just make the software work for you and you want to do something like hand drawn frame by frame, you can totally do that, and it's just as easy as Flash. I find, and it's I I use Toon Boom, but I use maybe like 20% of what it's capable of, if I'm honest. I
Hmm.
use a minimal amount of like what it can actually do, but honestly, that amount suits my purposes totally fine. So why change it? So if you want to do like frame by frame stuff, that's a great way to go. You can also do kind of pegged puppet animation too. Um, Flash Animate, I heard, is pretty decent. If you can't afford any of that, though, I'm gonna put a link to in the description to a bunch of open source softwares that you can download that I have no opinion on because I haven't tried them personally, but just know that they're free. You can try them as you wish. So, in fact, I'll put that in the chat right now once I find it.
Yeah, because I might even use some of those because I've been meaning to at least learn a bit about it, so I can at least make storyboards to show people what I'm imagining. It makes it easier to kind of produce that way.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And yeah, if you ever need tips on like how to improve your animation or like some basic stuff, or if you ever want to like learn the basics, I know like a really good tutorial series, and I can also give you some tips on how to improve. But
Awesome, awesome.
yeah, what something else I'll link is the series that got me started, and I mentioned this to you. Let's see. So this is a series that is long and alliterative. It's Happy Harry's Who Ha To How To, and it's a tutorial series for the basic principles of animation, regardless of medium, done by my inspiration, Harry Partridge. And it's super funny, and it's also animation explained in the simplest way possible, I think. So it's a great
Mhm.
place to start. I just put the link to that in the chat too, so check that out. And yeah,
Yeah, he's got a lot of good cartoons too. Like you introduced me to him um, a while back, but he's easily become like one of my favorite animators on YouTube for sure.
dude, he is fantastic. Like, I freaking love his cartoon, Irving the Socially Awkward Bee.
Yeah.
Did you
Oh
ever
man,
see
it's so
that?
good. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's poorly cropped because it's one of his earlier things, and it's not his best animation. It's basically just looped, but it's so funnily delivered. Like it's just this really shitty drawn bee that slowly approaches on the right of the frame, and he just approaches all these other bees. He's this big dumb derpy face, and he's just like, "Hi guys."
It's fantastic.
Oh my god! And when it ends, and he's just like, "I've never been happy."
Yeah. Yep.
Oh god, it cracks me up every single time. So,
um.
listen. Oh, sorry.
Mhm.
Make your point before I say what I'm about to
Oh,
say.
just I just wanted to quickly ask what your if you had to pick like I don't know like five animated whether it be movies or shows to recommend to people to to check out to get inspiration from to watch what would be let's just make it five. What would be the five that you kind of recommend?
Like, just top five favorite movies to give people an appreciation for animation?
Well, yeah, anything really. Animated movies, animated series, could be any origin of the animation or style. Just like, what would you recommend for people to just check out?
All right. Well, I'm gonna try to diversify myself into a little bit of everything. I'll just list off like some of the best things you can get. So probably Song of the Sea. It's my all-time favorite movie, done by Cartoon Saloon. Um, Kubo and the Two Strings for stop motion and all the ways it innovates it. Uh, Spirited Away. It's often considered the greatest animated film of all time, and it's the finest work of Studio Ghibli. Uh, let's see here. In terms of just downright silliness and crazy expressions, Ren and Stimpy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just for that really comedic kind of nihilistic edge. And I have to do one more. What's a good one? I'm just gonna go ahead and say Cowboy Bebop for anime.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone loves that.
Yeah, or if you wanted to delve into something for the 3D folk out there, probably my favorite 3D movie is The Incredibles.
Ah, classic.
Yeah, and going back to a topic we had before about like things that are worth rebooting or remaking, The Incredibles is one of those properties that actually makes sense to give a sequel to because it's a premise that you can actually expand upon and create more stories with.
Yeah, and the way they ended the show or the movie, I mean, was pretty open ended because they it's been a while, but like I think an enemy just came up and they just kind of like, all right, we're gonna face him, and it's like credits.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's about all the time we're going to use for this episode of Toon Crew. Kyle, I want to say thank you so much for hopping onto this stream and hanging out with me for a bit,
Oh,
talking
it's
about
it's been a pleasure.
animation shenanigans. Before we stop broadcasting, do you want to plug all your social media and all your online endeavors and whatnot?
Oh gosh, yeah, just basically Suck Creations is what I do all my projects on, and if you want to get to know me personally, Kylan Sucks is my little personal handle. So either of those, yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Lynn Sucks is your Twitter name, right?
Oh, pretty much every social media I've matched it up. Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff.
All right, good stuff. I think I already put the links to that stuff in your description, so I think that's a good place to start. And as for myself, you can subscribe to my channel, Tombo Time. You can follow me on Twitter at TomJVanK. You can check out my website, which I think the link will be in the description. If it's not there, I'll put it in there. And last but not least, I also have a Tumblr blog, Scrawny Dutchman, which you can check out. And I have all sorts of written up blogs about my thoughts on certain movies and kind of editorial stuff. It covers all sorts of great topics like how Guardians of the Galaxy tackles multiple character development at once, the moral behind Mulan, and also other things like what the best Superman movie is. It's not what you think. So, yeah, that's pretty well it. Thanks for hopping on, Kyle, and tune in to the next episode of Toon Crew, guys. Maybe I'll have Kyle back. Maybe I'll have somebody else. Who knows?
Yeah, thanks for having me. See you guys.
Bye.